Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Bodacious Rant. Hope everybody's doing great, living life to the fullest, enjoying the holiday season. I gotta say, I'm being driven crazy, but that's mostly because of work stuff, and the work I do, you don't want to know. It's fine. It's fine. My sanity is hanging by a thread, but it's Christmas. It's gonna be Christmas time, so it's okay. This has been a very interesting holiday season just because we're definitely getting a mixed bag of movies, both not only upcoming Academy nominations in most part, but also just like shows are coming back. Like I'm really excited for Reacher season 2 to come out this upcoming week. We also got the Wonka movie coming out soon, and we also just had Godzilla -1, which is, I think, still the best movie of the month so far. So if you haven't seen it, its theatrical run did get extended for another several days. I think another week, actually. So check it out. And also check out our review, too, if you haven't already. It's spoiler-free, like this one we're going to be talking about, which is the latest Studio Ghibli movie to grace our presence, which is The Boy and the Heron, directed by...
Hayao
Miyazaki. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Miyazaki. Yeah.
Miyazaki. And this is coming out this week. So Bern and I got to see it at a special screening. So if you haven't seen, if you have caught those screenings yet, or you're gonna see it this week. Oh my God, I can't talk. I apologize. If you're gonna see it this weekend, feel free to let us know what you think of it. But as I'm saying, this is gonna be non-spoiler, so please do not forget to give us a like, ring the bell, and of course subscribe. We appreciate you all, and let's end 2023 with a bang going into 2024. So all good stuff. This is a very interesting anime where, to be honest, I haven't seen all the Studio Ghibli movies. I've only seen maybe one or two at the most. I think this may be my second. The only one I've really seen is Kiki's Delivery Service, and that was for a college class, and it was a great movie. Don't get me wrong, very different, but this one's interesting where the main character, I gotta look it up, I apologize. I want to say it's, oh my God, I can't say. It's, Maki, what the heck is the kid's name? Bernie, do you remember the kid's name? It's Himoto? What, does that sound right?
Mahito,
thank you. Where Mahito and his dad, Shoichi, this is during, World War II Japan, where they have to flee Tokyo just because of like all the war and stuff like that. Yamato ended up losing his mother in the war, and he's just basically, it's this boy's journey of dealing with that trauma, as well as kind of navigating growing up with a new parental figure. And he meets this very interesting bird, the heron, that kind of roams the property in the village they're living in, and that begins in a crazy adventure, which is basically all I can say. Yeah, so while the animation is stunning, I think the sound work on it too, like all the steps they take, all the things, the materials they work with, it's so visceral. It's like, God, you got to give the effects people in the background, their props, because it is just stunning visually and audio wise. But with the story being what it was and kind of how it's played out, I saw it dubbed with the American like the voice actors and stuff. Not all American, but basically the English cast. Did you see it subbed or dubbed, Bern?
No, I did also watch it in the dub.
Okay, well, either way, AMC gave me 2 free passes because it was supposed to be subbed, but it was dubbed, and I thought that's what I was seeing anyways, the dubbed version. So I was like, I'll take that win. I got 2 free passes, so it's fine. Anyways, like I said, I love the character design, especially behind the heron. I thought that was a very interesting way to not only design when he's bird form, but then when he becomes like his, I don't want to say demon, but I don't know how else to call him. I guess just his other form. Let's say his more humanoid form. I thought Himato, I liked his, I thought he was very, very well done. And just the world building behind it. There just wasn't enough of it for me. That's pretty much all I could think of for now. Bern, what did you think of this movie?
I mean, look, the Studio Ghibli movies, and especially the ones made by Hayao Miyazaki, are event movies because their animations are incredible all the time, and more lately they've been fewer and far in between. Just because Hayao Miyazaki's sort of retired and unretired so many times within the past few years, so the movies have been very it's been big gaps in between the ones. So, everyone's looking forward to when is the next one going to come out? Is this going to be his last one? That's the same question that we're getting with this one, too. I've seen a few of the Studio Ghibli movies. Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away are some of my favorites. Kiki's Delivery Service is also great as well. And so, coming into this one, I came in with a certain set of expectations that I think a lot of other fans will, for something that's a little more along the lines of those movies where they're sort of sweeping epic adventures where you get pulled into this world and this unfamiliar territory, and you go on this adventure with this fish out of water story basically, and you're learning about the world and experiencing all these like different crazy creatures and some really imaginative stuff. So I was coming into that with that sort of mentality, and I will say that it sort of affected how I came away from the movie, since this movie wasn't really a lot like those other ones. This one is a lot more meditative. I'll say it's a lot more slower and more low key. And really, it feels like it's Miyazaki's expression of, his sort of feelings that he has right now as he's getting older. He is one of those classic filmmakers that's like in his 80s. So, after coming away from watching this and thinking about it, it's like, I'm seeing sort of the same trend with a lot of other directors that are sort of at this point of their life, like Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, where their later works, the movies that we've been getting recently are quieter and more contemplative. So I did really appreciate it on that aspect, seeing this other filmmaker sort of express, his feelings and his emotions about like death and mortality and stuff, and how he's coming into terms with that. And I really like the symbolism of this movie, how it expressed those sort of feelings thematically with the characters or with the art. It all worked so well, I think, in that aspect. But also like you, I felt that the story and the characters themselves left me wanting a little bit more. Coming away from it, like again, all the themes, all the the different discussions that it's sort of having, it's all really interesting stuff. I just wish we did get a little bit more of an adventure, or a little bit more time in learning and exploring this world, because it's presented so well, and I'm so interested in it that I felt like I didn't get enough when I finished the movie. It's like, oh man, like it left me wanting a little bit more. Not to say it wasn't great, it was great, but it was like I wanted more of it. I felt like I didn't get enough almost.
What was I gonna say? It's one of those things, like it was very slow. Again, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Studio Ghibli stuff, so that's my only thing. I'm glad that you have seen a little bit more than I have on it, so you have a little bit more insight into the style. So that is nice to hear that this is very different from the other ones, because it was one of those things. There were some moments in it where I was like, okay, can we move on? Why are we taking so long on this? Like, speed it up. And then when we did get to the more fantasy aspect, I was like, oh man, that's kind of it. Like, this is all the time we spend. I would love to see more of it. But again, it's one of those things that, like you said, Bern, is more of an intimate journey about Himato just kind of dealing with himself and confronting his, fears of loss and trauma and stuff like that. So, and the English cast, I think, was pretty solid for the most part. Like Florence Pugh as Kiriko's character. She was pretty normal in that. Didn't think about it till after the fact. I was like, oh, that's Florence Pugh, duh. The biggest standout for me was Robert Pattinson as the Heron, the English version. That was a totally different side of him. I haven't really heard his voice like that. And I've also just rewatched Harry Potter and the Batman with him, so I'm like, man, he's grown as such an actor. It's a blessing to have him here. Christian Bale was Himato's dad, Shoichi, which as soon as I heard his actual English voice, it's like, that's Chris Bale. It's good to hear him in his natural order. And we also had Dave Bautista. We had Karen Fukuhara. She was great. She brought a lot of personality to it. Gemma Chan, Mark Hamill, basically some real heavyweights. And they're the parts and like the lines that like the little instances these characters have, you really see the talents of voice acting. Like Mark Hamill never fails. Karen Fukuhara was fun, and just Robert Pattinson completely surprised me. Having said all that, with the animation, the voice work, and the story and stuff, I'm gonna give this movie a 3 out of 5, just because I felt the fantasy aspect could have been explored more. But like you said, since Miyazaki is he's kind of on the tail end of like between his retirement and not retiring, it's one of those movies like this is definitely a different form for him from the sounds of it. Not in a bad way. For me, it just didn't tickle my fancy. And do I recommend it for theaters? If you like anime or just want like a really, kind of intimate story, maybe a little more art house side, this is for you. For casual viewers like myself with the anime world, maybe a rental or, maybe $5 Tuesday, in all honesty.
That's fair, and I think it's one of those movies that sort of plays better to its baked in audience. It's almost in the way like A24 movies sort of, they're made for their specific audiences, and Studio Ghibli movies are definitely in that vein where you're either a fan of them or you're not. I don't think this movie is gonna change your mind on that. Like, for people who either really love them or really don't like them for whatever reason, I think you're gonna come away from it sort of getting what you expect in some form or another. But yeah, I mean, look, as you mentioned, the animation is gorgeous. The hand-drawn 2D animation, something I'm always going to love, having grown up with that, especially, these Studio Ghibli movies, go dating all the way back to the 80s. So, they've been around for a very long time. And, just there's something about the style that's just so nostalgic, and it just feels very cozy. So for anybody who's a fan of those, definitely it won't be any time wasted. I don't think I'm going to check this one out in the theaters. But it is, as I mentioned, this is a little bit more of an art house feel to it compared to some of the other ones that also handle heavy topics, but have a little bit more of a sense of adventure and are a little bit more accessible than this one, I think. So I think there is a little bit of a barrier there, maybe for some people. The voice cast is really good, as you mentioned. Robert Pattinson and Karen Fukuhara were the big standouts for me personally, just because they both gave me something that I did not expect from either of them. So listening to their voices and their performances in this movie were absolutely fantastic. So yeah, that coupled with the great soundtrack, which was really good, and I felt also a little bit sparse like other things in this movie where I wanted a little bit more from it. But yeah, so that's just basically the theme of this. I loved a lot of it, but at the end of the day, I was left wanting a little bit more. So for that reason, I am also going to give this one a 3 out of 5. I think people will enjoy it. How much, I think the mileage may vary, but definitely one for the fans, I feel like, and that they're really going to love it in some form or another. And I wound up really enjoying it. Not my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, but a solid entry nonetheless, I think.
Absolutely, that's totally fair. Yeah, like I said, I thought I'm glad I got to see it in theaters when I did. So will I see it again? Probably not. I'll probably wait for it to go on streaming, to be honest. But when you brought up A24 being niche, I literally thought while I was watching this, I could see A24 adapting this as a live action film if they wanted to do a version of that, just because it's so in the realm of style of like blending fantasy and reality into one in a very surreal way, because this movie was pretty surreal at times. But like I said, for those of you who caught this on the screening or plan on watching it, what are your thoughts on it? What's your favorite Studio Ghibli movie? We'd love to know in the comments to keep that conversation going. But until next time, everyone, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.